What's good, everybody? It's the Cloudwood Cab Show. NFL Week 3 was iconic, even though I didn't go with my gut in some of these games, including the Indianapolis Colts. I picked the Colts money line, Jonathan Taylor touchdown, but I did not place the bet. I just thought, it's the Indianapolis Colts. They always blow the bag. They always fumble it, but at the end of the day, they capitalize. With dealing with sports betting, you have to go with your gut, bro. That's the best way I can explain to you is how you're going to win a bag this season in the NFL is you got to go with your gut. Sometimes your gut's telling you something else, whether it's telling you this or that. Go with your gut feeling. My gut was telling me Jets this weekend and Indianapolis Colts, and they both freaking hit. So the moral of the story of Week 3 is go with your gut, and that's typically you're going to win that way. And I would have definitely ran up a bag if I just would have went with my gut instead of second guess myself. So just trust in the process, trust in yourself, and that's ultimately what you can do because no one else is going to trust in you. Like no one else is going to believe in you. You got to believe in your own dreams. You just have to. But shout out to the New York Jets on the Thursday night slate, getting that victory. I knew what was going to happen. I mean, we're talking about the Patriots who have Jacoby Jones as their starting quarterback. The Patriots are trash. They haven't been relevant since the GOAT left, Tom Brady, and it's really been terrible for the New England Patriots. They just suck. They really do. But Breece Hall, shout out to Breece Hall, shout out to, Aaron Rodgers. They finally got the job done. Look, they still going to have to go through some challenges this year to show me who the Jets truly are. And I understand Garrett Wilson finally got a tutty. Shout out to Garrett Wilson. But that Thursday night slate, that is huge because if you win that Thursday night slate, you're going into the 1 o'clock games on Sunday just feeling great. You're feeling like, hey, I'm on top of the world. I'm about to win all these bets. That's what's going to happen. So, you got to win the Thursday night game. That's huge. So shout out to the New York Jets. And the biggest surprise all weekend is the Denver Broncos beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was the game where I was like, yep, I'm going Tampa here. This was my lock pick, basically, besides the Colts this weekend, was this game. I just can't believe the Bucs came out flat. And really, I'm not really that surprised. Baker Mayfield just one touchdown, one pick. Bucky Irving, 70 yards rushing. Chris Godwin had a touchdown. So he balled out. But Bo Nix, man, he just did what he needed to do. 216 yards passing. You had Cortland Sutton with 68 yards receiving, and it was all Denver here. They just basically played way better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm surprised that Mike Evans didn't get a lot of targets either. So it was just one of them weird games to me. But this game, obviously, when you have a winner here, and obviously we went Tampa Bay, when you have such a huge favorite, sometimes it's like, hey, let's stay away from this game. I understand, like, Tampa Bay's looking nice. They're looking the hottest team in the NFL before Week 3. But, the reality sets in, and this is the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday. So that's just part of the game. So I'm not that surprised about Tampa Bay losing because, after all, it is Baker Mayfield. You're not Tom Brady, bro. Like, it's just not it. Like, they're not going to win a Super Bowl there with Baker Mayfield and Tampa. I'll tell you that right now. But shout out to Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos getting their first dub all season. And then shout out to my Indianapolis Colts. Like I said, I went all in on them. Kind of had a second guess on the Colts, but sometimes you have to. And I thought this was the most important game for the Indianapolis Colts. Started off 0-2. Last season, they started off 0-3. It was one of them things where it's like, well, Colts, are you guys going to be the same old, same old? Like, is that what's going to be? Like, is it going to be the same situation, same scenario? So, for me, it was the Indianapolis Colts finally got it done. Shout out to, Jonathan Taylor, anytime tutty. We finally got the job done. So, shout out to the Indianapolis Colts finally getting a huge win. And then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers beating up on the LA Chargers. This was another 50-50 game for me. And we look at the Chargers and realize, well, Justin Herbert's battling an ankle injury. He went out of the game. So this was an easy game. Shout out to Justin Fields, a touchdown and a pick, 245 yards passing. You had Najee Harris with 70 yards rushing. And then, it was just all Pittsburgh here. And it made sense. With Herbert going down, I was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to go the Steelers here because it just made sense to me. It really did. So shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers getting the job done, man. Let's freaking go. And then we got the Houston Texans versus the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings blew them out, and I picked the Vikings with my upset, even though Houston was, 1.5-point favorites going into this game. It made sense to me. They're locked in. Sam Darnold's locked in. 4 touchdowns. Aaron Jones over 100 yards rushing. Justin Jefferson had a touchdown, and it was all Minnesota. They ate on the Houston Texans, and it was just snap back to reality for Houston. You guys aren't going to go undefeated this year. You guys are going to lose more than 3 games this year. Let me tell you that. Shout out to the Minnesota Vikings, the hottest team right now in the NFL. And then we got the Philadelphia Eagles beating up on the New Orleans Saints 15-12. This game was so close, and it was just really, man, shout out to Gobbert, their tight end, man, Dallas Gobert, 170 yards receiving. Then you had Saquon, about 150 with 2 tutties. Shout out to Saquon, the best running back in the league. And that's why I went Philly. I was going to go New Orleans, but I flip-flopped, and I said, you know what? Philly makes sense to me. They had the best running back in the league. They have Saquon Barkley. Why not go him? It just made sense to me, so that's why I went them. So shout out to Saquon and the Philadelphia Eagles looking nice this year. And then we got the Green Bay Packers beating up on the Tennessee Titans. This was another easy pick for me. I went Green Bay. Why? Because they have Josh Jacobs, who was out of the second half. So that was surprising to me. But Malik Willis, a touchdown and a rushing touchdown. Cam Watson, 67 yards receiving, and it was all Green Bay. I mean, Will Levis, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, still developing in Tennessee right now. Just don't really know who he is just yet, but I'm telling you, they're trash. The Tennessee Titans are trash, man. Shout out to the Green Bay Packers getting a big win. And then we got the New York Giants beating the Cleveland Browns. This was my upset pick all weekend, and it hit. I went the New York Giants. Why? Because Malik Neighbors and Daniel Jones isn't the worst quarterback in the NFL, even though I said it before. I would still say he's a shitty quarterback, but he had 2 tutties this game. Singletary had a touchdown. Neighbors had 2 touchdowns, 78 yards receiving, and it was all New York Giants. We're talking about the Cleveland Browns here, who are trash. Deshaun Watson, he's washed up. I'm telling you right now, Deshaun Watson is washed. So shout out to the New York Giants getting the job done. Then we have the Carolina Panthers beating up on the Las Vegas Raiders. This was another upset pick. The Giants and the Panthers, those 2 big underdogs, won this weekend. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers. You know, Andy Dalton, 3 touchdowns. You had Hubbard, 114 yards rushing. You had Johnson with a touchdown. Minshew, a touchdown and a pick. Zymier White, just 34 yards rushing. Kind of terrible, really, in a way, but it's just all business here, man. It's just all strictly business. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers getting their first win all year. And then we got the Miami Dolphins versus the Seattle Seahawks. It was all Seattle. This was another lock pick this weekend. I went heavy on Seattle. Geno Smith, a touchdown, 2 picks. You had DK Metcalf, over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown, and it was all Seattle. Miami, they got, Thompson as their quarterback? He's trash. Tyreek Hill only had 40 yards receiving this game. So, obviously we know that they're just not built for it, man. They're just not, dude. They're not built for that spotlight. They're just not right now. Miami Dolphins, they are trash, bro. They just are. You know, Tua, I don't think he's going to come back. He's down with the CTE, man. He's going to be a walking vegetable if he continues to play, straight up, man. Just Tua, you made your bag. You made the millions of dollars. Please retire. That's it for you, bro. The Miami Dolphins are done this year. Their season is over. And then we got the Baltimore Ravens beating the Dallas Cowboys. This was a coin flip type of game, a 4 o'clock slate, a 50-50 game. And we look at the Ravens, they barely won by 3 points, which was needed. It really was. But we look at the Cowboys and say, well, the Ravens put their foot off the gas in this game. That's what really happened in this game. And we look at Lamar Jackson, 182 yards passing and a touchdown. Derrick Henry, $150 and 2 touchdowns. Shout out to King Henry, one of the best running backs in the league consistently in the past 10 years. So shout out to Derrick Henry, and it was all Baltimore here. We saw Dallas battle back. You know, Dak Prescott, 2 touchdowns. You had Ferguson, 6 receptions, 95 yards receiving. So look at Jake Ferguson this weekend to score a touchdown. On the Thursday night slate, they play the New York Giants, and I love the Dallas Cowboys over the Giants in this Thursday clock slate in a couple days. But right now, we're looking at the Dallas Cowboys and realizing, well, they are who they thought they were. They're trash. They're just all finesse. They're a finesse type of team. They want to do this and that and look good in uniform. But at the end of the day, man, they're trash. They're just trash. That's just who they are, man. It's just, I'm not going to put faith in the Dallas Cowboys this year whatsoever. I'd rather put faith in my Indianapolis Colts than the Dallas Cowboys. Straight trash, bro. They're just trash. But shout out to the Baltimore Ravens getting their first win. It was a must win for the Baltimore Ravens, man. It really is. And their schedule does not get any easier after this. I mean, I'm telling you what, man, the Ravens, they got a long way to go, but this was a huge win in Dallas over the Dallas Cowgirls. And then we got the Detroit Lions beating up on the Arizona Cardinals 20-13. I went Arizona. I thought this would be a good upset type of game, but obviously I was wrong on this game. I mean, shout out to the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff, 2 touchdowns and a pick. David Montgomery, over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. Gibbs scored, and shout out to St. Brown, 75 yards and a touchdown. So, this was how it was supposed to be. Detroit Lions are 2-1. Kyler Murray, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a touchdown, 67 yards receiving. I mean, Arizona, they're finding their identity. I do think Arizona's going to be nice one day. Maybe not this year, but in the future, absolutely. I can't wait to see how that develops. But, shout out to the Detroit Lions. And then we got the San Francisco 49ers versus the LA Rams. I was surprised. The Rams won with the upset game. I went 49ers. Obviously, McCaffrey was out, Debo was out, Kittle was out, and I still went San Francisco. Brock Purdy had a great game. 292 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Jennings, 3 touchdowns, 175 yards receiving. Man, shout out to Juwan Jennings. Insane for the 49ers right now, balling out. But shout out to Stafford, a touchdown. Kyron Williams had 3 touchdowns. And the Rams barely won by a field goal. And that's what you got to have in these type of games, is to win barely by inches. So shout out to the LA Rams. And then we got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Atlanta Falcons in that Sunday night football game. I went Atlanta with the upset. And really, Atlanta got screwed. They're going down the field in the fourth quarter, barely any time left. And clearly, Kansas City's defender ran into the receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. It was a no call. And Kansas City goes on to win 3-0 right now. They're 3-0. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. They're looking for the first team to ever three-peat. 3 in a row Super Bowls. No team's ever done that. And Kansas City has a chance this year to do it with Patrick Mahomes, man. Shout out to Mahomes. Then we had the Monday night slates. We had the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Buffalo Bills. The Bills just put it on them, man. It was just a clinic. Shout out to Josh Allen. It was just a clinic of how the Buffalo Bills put it on them. They really did, man. Josh Allen, 4 touchdowns. Shakir had a touchdown. It's just all Jacksonville, they're trash, man. Trevor Lawrence is trash. They're all done. It's over with. And shout out to one of the biggest upsets all weekend, the Washington Commanders over the Cincinnati Bengals, 38-33. Jaden Daniels, 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing. You got Terry McLaurin, 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Joe Burrow had 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 2 touchdowns, 118 yards receiving. But it just wasn't enough for the Bengals. And I'm looking at the Bengals and saying, hey, what are you guys going to change? I think obviously their defense and secondary is their weakness. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to have to, flip the script here. They're 0-3 right now. They don't have a win. So I'm looking at Joe Burrow and company and saying, you got to turn it around. But the biggest game all weekend was my Indianapolis Colts getting a dub at home against the Chicago Bears. This was a must-win. This was a must-win game. My Indianapolis Colts got to win out here. We're going to have to come on the map and really go. So I still like the parlays, the 2 money lines, 2 running backs to score and 2 receivers to score this weekend, man. In the Thursday clock slate, I like the Cowboys over the Giants, man. It's the Clouded with Cavs show. Let's go!